Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ahmed, and today for stepforward.com we will continue our quest in PHP with control structures, decision table, and some extra things that we left behind. Okay. So up till now we have covered arrays, and associative arrays, and some other functions, data types, and similar things. So before going into details, I have my Firefox browser ready. I have the text editor ready, and let's start by creating a variable. We will see how data is copied from one variable to another. So let me create a variable $num. Let's give a value of 15, and let's create another variable num2 and give it a value of the previous variable, that is $num. And now what we can do is echo these two variables and concatenate br tag with it, and similarly for the next line also, and num2. Open it up in browser and let's refresh it. Of course, the first value is giving us 15 and the second is num2. Now what we can do is let's change the value of num2, refresh it. Num is the same, but num2 has been updated. Of course, that's the natural way of doing things. Okay, now what we can do is that whenever a value is copied from one variable to another, it is always copied by value. But in PHP, we have another option that instead of copying by value, we can copy it by reference, and this is its syntax. Now num is copied to num2 as reference. Save it, refresh in the browser, and yes, you can see that both of these variables have been changed. Whenever num2 will be changed, num will also see the effect, because both are pointing to the same memory, and same is the case if num is changed, num2 will also be changed. So this is how value is copied by reference. Then we have plus, minus, multiply, divide, modulus. All these operators, all of them work fine in PHP also. We have also plus equal to, minus equal to, and the remaining operators also work. We can also use concatenate with this syntax. Concatenate this current variable with another string. And other operators we have the plus, post increment, pre increment, and post decrement, pre decrement operators. They also work fine. We have and we can use the double ampersand sign for and also. We also have the or operator, or we can use the double bar operator. Then we also can use the not operator and XOR operator, XOR. And then let's take it back to normal and make a few changes. We need to understand the control structures now. Let's get rid of it. So let's start with an if statement. If num is equal to 15, 15 numeric, echo they are equal, else not equal, and we can remove these lines. Save it, see in the browser, and they are equal. Now one interesting thing happens if I change this 15 to 15.0. Save it, run it in the browser. It is still telling me that it is equal, because but this is another interesting operator in PHP. This is exactly equal to. So in this, previously what it was doing was that it was comparing the values of these two operators, but in case of triple equal to, that is exactly equal to, the data types will also be matched, not just the contents. And the opposite of this is also possible, that we have the not equal to operator in PHP and we also have the exactly not equal to operator. So in this, it will also negate based on the data type. Okay, so for if statement, well, we have, of course, we have the greater than, equal to, plus than, equal to, all the signs. Let's create a multiple structured if statement. Else if num is less than 5, echo less than 5. Change the print statement above, greater than 10. Between 5 and 10. Save it. Have a look at it in the browser. It is giving me an error. If statement, else if statement has another syntax also, and that is else and if both of these words will be merged. In certain scenarios, this is not equal to what I'm telling you, so let's change it to else if. Run it again, and basically I'm missing a semicolon over here. Okay, here we go, and the errors must be resolved. Yes, it is. Okay, so in both cases the result should be the same because this is not a complicated structure. And what we can do is we can also use brackets with this if structure, because right now we have only one line, that's why I ignored them. So we have bracket for if, we have bracket for else if, and we also have a bracket for else statement. Okay, now the problem with this type of block is that of course this is the standard way, it's working fine, but in long structures, complicated logic, the brackets are, you can see the bracket closing right there down at the bottom of the page, but you aren't sure that which if statement was it, or was it a for loop that was closed, or a while loop. So there's an improved syntax that is available in PHP. This is the alternate way. Of course the first will also work. So the syntax is to replace the brackets with and or use the colon sign with if, else if, and else statement, and use the end if semicolon to close the if statement. Save it, refresh it. You see this is working. Of course the other is perfectly fine, but this approach is better in the sense that now you know that whether this closing bracket was for an if, while, or a for loop, or a for each loop. All of them have these variants. Okay, so so similarly we have we can use this same colon syntax. This is popularly known as the alternate syntax, and semicolon at the end of the page, the end of the structure. So now what we can do is that let's replace it and see how while works. In the case of while, we have the condition over here, and we have the brackets, and in between the bracket we have the lines. So for the while we can use while colon and end while semicolon. See, it looks more readable. So we also have a for, and for, then we have which, let's see, for each. We also have a for each statement, so we can use for each and end it the same way, end for each. This will work fine. So in the previous class when we were discussing associative arrays, we saw that how different user defined indexes can be used in associative arrays, and we use for each loop for that. First of all, let's understand Boolean false. This is also treated as Boolean false. This is also treated false. This is also treated as false. This is also treated as Boolean false, and this also. So basically, to be very sure that what you are doing, you should always prefer the exactly equal to or exactly not equal to. Now let's come back to the associative array thing I was telling you. Let's create an array, give it an index of id, and give it a value of I think 200, and a name of value Ali. Okay, fine. Now we have an array over here, and let's use a for each loop. We did use for a for each loop last time, but in that scenario we just looped it using the standard index. So now we need to use the key, that is the index and the value, both of them. So this is how the syntax will work. Array as is a $ key, and then a second part also for the value. So in one loop execution, we have the value as well as the key. How this will work, that when this loop will run, id will go to this id, this first part will run for the first time, and this part will run for the second time. And when on the first execution, id will go to key and 200 will go to value. On the second execution, name will go to the key and Ali will go to the value. So let's output this on the screen. Echo key is, and $sign key. Let's PR it also, concatenate over here. Just an ending line, a new line, value is, and value over here. Save it, have a look at it in the browser, and it is working perfectly. So how it is working, for the first execution we have id and 200, and for the second execution we have name and Ali. So basically in this lecture we saw how control structures exist in PHP, the alternate syntax, a few other clarifications, and hopefully you learned a lot from this. Allah Hafiz.